Hello and welcome to the Pens and Pixels podcast. I am your host, Cal G, and to my left is the coordinator extraordinaire,
Mike Kent.
The podcast is the place to come to if you want to hear about the art and news of video games, comics, and movies that week.
And pop culture.
Mike, you know it's coming. You know it's coming because I just literally pulled it up right in front of you.
Yeah.
Pop culture, you say?
Yeah.
You know what's going on in the world of pop culture?
What's going on?
Drake is dating J-Lo.
Oh.
Ooh, they're grinding, but are you buying it? This is the TMZ.
I'm not buying it.
Yeah, this is a TMZ headline. I did hear about this before even seeing this article.
No.
Is this a big deal at all?
Is it?
I don't know.
Is she single?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, the last person I knew she was dating was Ben Affleck, and that was like back in 2001.
Yeah. Because he likes to date lots of crazy women.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is happening now. He's a younger man. She's an older lady. Okay. I see a lot of talk about how, like, you know, it's an older man can date a younger woman, no one says anything, but an older woman dates a younger guy, it's a big deal, blah, blah. But I've only really seen that conversation being talked about as this is happening. I haven't seen anyone actually shaking their finger at her, being like, no. What's your opinion on this?
Do I have to have one?
You don't at all. So anyways, as you know.
Well, it was just kind of funny with what you mentioned about the older women thing is that, like, Diane Keaton is older woman, and she's always dating younger guys, and she's always been kind of weird, but she's, like, embraced for it. It's like the facade of being an artiste allows you to do it, but being a pop star makes you just, like, automatically
makes
the
you
worst.
desperate or something.
Yeah, like the worst person.
Yeah.
Like, why is it that the vain, generic pop star is held to the standard of perfection when the actually talented artist woman is the one that has to, like, is just like, yeah, you can fuck whatever you want. Like, of course, you're arty.
That's a great question, Mike.
Like, Nicki Minaj is held to a higher standard than Diane Keaton.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That is how that goes. We're never going to get an answer to that question either.
No.
So as you know, on the podcast, we bring you all the newsy news you need to know every week. All the news we deem interesting.
Yep.
There's only like 9 stories this week, so get prepared for that. And in the second segment, we always have a topic for you lined up. And this week we're doing...
I guess you could call it what peeves us off.
Yeah, pet peeves in TV and movie watching.
Yeah. Basically what pisses you off while you watch a film, or pisses us off, actually. Yeah. And also what pisses you off in a film or TV show.
Whether it be an overdone trope or, you know, just the way that certain scenes are shot or, you know, whatever.
That thing when you're watching and either it's a person who does something and you're like, fucking God, and it ruins it for you. Or it's something on the show where you're like watching and you're like, this is neat. This could go, fuck, why? Why did you did that thing? The thing you shouldn't do.
The thing you shouldn't do. Mike, do you have any Pens and Pixels housekeeping?
Nothing. Just go make sure to go out and buy your tickets for the Schoolism event if you're in the Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal region. Or if you're elsewhere and you think you want to travel down to Ottawa for this event. Yeah.
It's going to be worth it. It's Ryan Lang and...
Nathan Fox,
two supremely talented artists.
Yeah. So
you'd want to see them no matter what, obviously. So, yeah. But again, I don't expect you to travel down from Saskatchewan to go see this, but...
It's a big deal for Ryan Lang since I think this is only his second or third Canadian show, so he hasn't done a lot of different talks, and super amazingly nice guy, so...
Very cool. All right, if that's all...
That's all.
On to the newsy news. I apologize if my voice is hoarse or cracks at all during our newsy news segment. I'm just getting over an illness, and I at some points sound like the teenager from The Simpsons. And oh, can I take your order, please? I get that the voice cracking going on. So bear with me if that's the case.
We diagnosed him with phlegm.
Yes, the diagnosis.
Phlegm. Just because writing it was fun. The word phlegm coming up all the time.
Yeah, it was.
Phlegm.
Yeah, it's one of those weird words, it doesn't come up a lot.
It's just because I was like, I don't get to type this often. I'm diagnosing you with phlegm.
You get that weird breathy, and it's cracking and it almost sounds like a fucking monster.
And every single time you ever get a chest cold, you're like, this is it. This is cancer.
Yes. This is the time I die.
Yeah.
Continually. Hannibal had this show a lot about dying. And it might continue, Mike.
Ooh, this is bigger for you. I've only recently started getting into this.
Yeah, Hannibal is one of my top 5 TV shows of all time, depending on what day you ask me. Fantastic show. It was underwatched in its time, but it still got a solid 3 seasons.
And it's got one hell of a cast. I mean, Mads Mikkelsen and Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, no doubt. Everyone in that is excellently cast, especially though Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal. He knocked it out of the park, and it's probably the reason why he's in so many fucking movies this year alone, right? Like they're like, he played an excellent villain. He's obviously evil. Look at him.
All he does is play villains.
Yeah, like that's all you can do with that man. So
he clearly goes home and torments cats. He's the one we should have.
So it's
you could probably put that out as a headline, and we'd be like, "Yep,
that's about right."
We wouldn't even like be upset about it. We'd just be like, "That's what Mads does."
Mads Mikkelsen, actually Satan. You're like, I don't know if that's fake news. You just don't know anymore.
It's like got one horn like half sticking out, and he's just like trying to stick it back in on an interview.
Combs his hairline over it a little bit.
Yeah.
So Hannibal has a very dedicated fan base. They tried to bring it back. As soon as the word was it got canceled, right? I was even part of that. I did hashtag save Hannibal, whatever else, you know. Yeah, hashtags, they help. Yeah. I'm doing my part.
This is the next, like, freaking, what is that called? The children's charity there.
Children's Wish Foundation?
The one we put the pennies in all the time.
Oh, yeah. I don't know which one that is.
It was a Wish Foundation or something that goes around and it's like hashtag save lives. That's their new
campaign. That's working. So the show tried to get saved. I know Brian Fuller went to Netflix. He went to Amazon. Tried to get them to get it. They both passed for whatever reason. I'm actually kind of surprised. You know, seems like a cult show with a
Brian Fuller, has he done movies before?
He's the one. He did Pushing Daisies, and he's in charge of the new Star Trek, or he was, and he's also doing American Gods for Stars, another show that a lot of people are looking forward to. But he tried to shop it around. It didn't get picked up. Whatever. But all the cast seems to be on board to come back if it does get revived. And he's been talking about how he's like, there weren't going to be any bodies found floating in the lagoon, blah, blah. He's talking about the whole ending of season 3. He doesn't have the rights to Silence of the Lambs somehow. The rights to Hannibal are one thing, and the rights to Silence of the Lambs, the property, is another thing.
They broke it up when they did the Hannibal movie.
Yeah, I guess so. So Showtime owns the rights to Silence of the Lambs. They're doing nothing with it. Yeah. So Brian Fuller said when the rights expire to that, he's going to try to do a mini-series with the cast coming back, and they're going to redo Silence of the Lambs in like a 6-8 episode mini-series.
But the Silence of the Lambs TV show almost happened. There's even actually apparently like a script and a little bit of footage. That was back in remember the heyday of Showtime?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was going to be a thing, because it was totally going to be a thing. And Hannibal then was a separate thing, because the Hannibal, like, serial killer murder thing, that was sold separately to make money. And that was the movie that was no good.
Oh, yeah.
That was a hot piece of trash.
Yes.
Even though you have... how do you get that actor,
Anthony
Hopkins, and make a bad movie? You can't put Anthony Hopkins in a bad movie. You have to be really... trying,
because I think he was still good in it. You know, that's the
thing. He was. That's the thing.
Like, he is still good. The movie surrounding him isn't good, but like he was excellent.
I know some like subpar movies that just Anthony Hopkins just makes better, and you're just watching and you're just like, well, this is so you know, like he just shows up and you're like, fine. But
he was. Yeah, I just finished watching Westworld. He was fantastic in that show.
Yeah, like there's nothing you can't. It's perfection. And then you fuck up a movie like that. I just didn't get it. I'm like, and also, your subject matter is one of the greatest fake serial killers ever to exist.
Yeah, not everyone has that knack, right? But Brian Fuller...
No, but you gotta be trying. He had the guy sat down and was like, all this pressure on him. He's at the desk and he's got like his paper and his pens out in front of him and like a computer and shit. And he's just like, okay, everyone's waiting on me to get this just fucking right. Can't handle the pressure. Fuck it. Hannibal fucking farts and he's just like, horrible piece of shit. Whatever's wrong. What wouldn't he do?
It's like Kevin Smith wrote it. They're like, what the fuck?
And a rubber poop monster.
Yeah, the rubber poop monster comes out. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this a lot. It's still a long ways off. The rights expire like mid 2017, and so even if they act on it right away, it still wouldn't be out until 2018. This is gonna be in the pipeline for a long time.
Yeah.
But as a Hannibal fan,
you have to find Mads Mikkelsen in like where are you going to find him at free time?
Yeah, especially now, right? Like
because they just not canceled, but they've officially announced, or well, not officially announced, but in the most official way they possibly could without being official, said that Sherlock is done after this next season.
No, did they?
Yeah. All the guys, like, they all said it. They're just like it was nearly impossible to get these 3 episodes filmed. With Benedict Cumberbatch's schedule as Doctor Strange now, it's impossible to get into the future. So, like, they said that they've written everything for this season is going to be the climax.
No,
as they put in quotations.
No.
So, like, this is it.
I remember there's some Tumblr post where Benedict Cumberbatch said he'd play Sherlock as long as he lives or whatever.
Yeah.
He loves doing it or whatever. And someone said, like, even if he did it as long as it lives, this only means, like, 3 more seasons. It was like, okay, yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. And Sherlock Season 4 is coming out January 1st, like 2 days from now.
Yeah.
Actually, by the time you're listening to this, you can watch the first episode. I hope it's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's going to be great.
Yeah. All right, next up. Zach Galligan offers a Gremlins 3 update. Warner Brothers definitely wants it.
So we should probably inform everyone that Zach Galligan is not the comedian. Who is Zach Galligan?
Who are you thinking of? Gallagher? The guy who smashes watermelons? Is that who you're thinking of?
No, Galifianakis. Zach Galligan.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that is pretty similar. No.
Who else who's not an epic fan of 80s horror films would know who Zach Galligan is?
No, you're right. Zach Galligan is the main character from the Gremlins movies.
Yes.
He's the guy who owns Gizmo. He's actually, I follow him on Twitter. He's a supremely nice guy. At the end of like every day, he's like, I have the best, and he names the number of followers he has. I think he only has like 14,000 or something. He's like, I have the best 14,902 fans in the world. And I'm like, what a sweet man. Like, and I said like, he's like, I love you all. And I tweeted back at him a couple times, love you too, Zach. Like, yeah, he's a nice guy. And it seems like he doesn't really do anything aside from answer Gremlins questions on Twitter now, which is nice. So he said, I think I can tell you what's happening with Gremlins 3 the same way you could tell with Gremlins 2. It's the same people, and they tend to work the same way. There's a huge time gap, but it's Warner Brothers, Spielberg, and Chris Columbus. All people involved in the first movies. Now, Chris Columbus didn't have anything to do with Gremlins 2, because by his own admission, he didn't see a franchise. He kind of regrets it, I believe, because he was one and done. I don't think he cared for Gremlins 2, and some of the direction the characters went in, so he's kind of wrestled control back. Everything I'm quoting is stuff he's publicly said. There will never be a remake, there will never be a reboot, there will only be a sequel. So what would a potential Gremlins 3 sequel look like? Galligan told the site what he knows. Columbus has been aggressively working on a Gremlins 3 that takes place in present day.
Aggressively.
And apparently. He tantalizingly says that there will be some new characters and some old characters, I guess in the style of a Force Awakens type sequel. One thing we know for sure is that they have a writer on board. The only insight I can give is the following. There's a 6-year gap between Gremlins 1 and 2. Most of that time was spent with them writing and rejecting ideas and rewriting. One of the ideas rejected was a Gremlins in Vegas. I wouldn't fucking pay to see that. They went in with that for 18 months and felt it was too expensive. Eventually, they came up with the tower idea where, essentially, I'm working for Donald Trump, our new president. It took 6 years to happen. Carl Ellsworth has apparently been working on a script for a year and a half now. If no new names start appearing on IMDb listing, then that means they like the new script. If new names start appearing, Kevin Smith appears, it means it's back and rewrites with a new vision. Interesting.
Kevin Smith?
Yeah, he just tossed the name out there.
Oh, okay.
Warner Brothers definitely wants it. Chris Columbus wants to do it because he'd like to undo Gremlins 2, and he wasn't thrilled with it. And Spielberg wants to do it, I imagine, because he's Spielberg, and why wouldn't he want to do it? Once he's found the right script, he can attach his name and make a ton of money. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
The future Force Awakens thing, that's a little interesting.
Well, I mean, bringing back a little, mixing a little of the old with a little of the new type thing. You understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, but what a shitty thing to hand off. Like, Luke is handing off, like, here, have my Jedi powers and become a Jedi. He's walking up with, like, this fucking mutant creature in a box, and he's just like, your problem.
That's true.
Like, that's your fucking legacy you're handing off?
He just hands Gizmo in a box.
Yeah.
You can't get it wet and it can't go in the sunlight. Goodbye!
At midnight. What time? What if I'm in France? Just midnight.
What about the time zone? It doesn't matter. So, Gremlins 3 news is few and far between. I've been following, Gremlins 3 news for the majority of my adult life. And, the last time I heard about it, what I heard was the last time they pitched it, it was rejected because the guy the director, Joe Dante, wanted to use puppets. He wanted to use animatronics, which is how I think they should do it. And the studio was like, no, too expensive, only CG. And he was like, Gremlins will never be CG, and he bounced. So if it's going forward, maybe we get puppets again. What do you think the odds of that are?
It'll be a mix.
Yeah?
It'll definitely be a mix. Like, I don't see anyone agreeing to doing it without some sort of...
Yeah, it's not going to be like a huge success. You know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be blockbuster type numbers for
No, but
Gremlins 3.
That's what they'll want. Like that's the problem is that the people who pitch this, they have to pitch this on the idea, even if it's not turns out to be the case, and at least they get to make the movie, that they're going to relaunch a franchise, right? Because that's what everyone wants. Franchises and cinematic universes.
Yep.
Like that's all we have. So if they're going to do that, it's going to have to be that way, which means there are going to be some concessions, and I'm sorry, you don't get to get 100% puppet. But there will be something about puppeting it again that'll bring back a nostalgia factor that might make it cool again. And then it also might help with that whole fucking, like, oh, the ghosts and Ghostbusters looked too, like, CG or whatever. And it's like, it's the 21st fucking century. That was done in 1970-something.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sakes. So... You know, like puppeting it.
I could definitely see a mix. Maybe like there's a main Gremlin crew, but if there's eventually hordes of them, they're obviously CG in the background or whatever going on. But...
Or even something animatronic.
Yeah.
You know, like, but like, almost like claymation. You know.
How do you think they got Howie Mandel back to do Gizmo's voice? Did you know Howie Mandel was Gizmo's voice?
Why do I think he's dead? No, he's not dead.
He's not dead. No. He's just bald and on America's Got Talent.
Yes, and he's the germaphobe one.
Yeah. That's why he's bald now. He doesn't want to touch hands he gives fist bumps to contestants and stuff now.
Yeah, that was the most touching he allows.
Yeah, that's fine. Howie Mandel's okay.
I guess. Anyways, what was he famous for?
He did stupid voices.
He
did Bobby's World. Do you remember Bobby's World?
No.
He was a comedian, like in the late 80s, I think. Like
was that what he was?
Yeah, stand-up comedian. Remember that Family Guy joke about him blowing up the fucking surgical club on his head?
Oh.
He hits his head on the desk and bleeds out.
Yeah.
Peter's like, hey! Yeah, like, kind of like that. That's his career.
Okay.
But now he hosted some fucking terrible... God, I hated this show. My parents loved it. It was, like What's in the Case or something, some shit. It was the stupidest game show in the world. All you did was guess. There was no skill. Literally anyone could do it. It was just briefcases, and people had to be like, I eliminated this one, and they're like, they open it up, and it's like, oh good, it wasn't $1 million, and they're just continually pointing and
what in the case, and it had like 22 beautiful girls wearing gold, and they had a suitcase.
Yeah, that's all I did was just like eliminate cases based off nothing. There's nothing. There's nothing to that show. It went on for like 5 seasons. I had to endure like 5 years of that garbage.
It was like the Elevator, because after the Elevator was done, and we were talking about it last week, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, in the end of the day, every episode, they kept handing out $50,000 because people could walk.
Yeah.
Because, like, really, nothing
None of the puzzles were hard.
No, not even, like, if the puzzles were hard, it would have been one thing, but at the very least, if you're trying to do this, like, let's scare you so that you're too afraid to put your hand in or something, like, none of it was like that. So, if they can walk fast enough in 5 minutes...
yeah, they got the money, basically.
They got the money. So, like, they kept handing out money, and the girls were like, they keep taking our money. And I'm like, then put something in the way.
Yeah, make a little more effort. I mean, the case show had a better strategy. Only one case out of 20 had $1 million in it. So, you know, like, fuck, that show was so stupid. I hated it.
Yeah, my mom loved that show.
My parents loved it, too. There's nothing to it. Price is Right is more interesting, because at least you can guess along with them, like about the price and stuff. Like... You go, why would I pick that suitcase? And it's like, good for you. Like, we will never know what happened in an alternate timeline. America's Got Talent is kind of annoying, too. Like, it has people who with talent on it, obviously, but they always, like, singers end up winning a lot of the time. It's like, well, you had American Idol, which just got taken off the air. Stop letting singers win. Let someone who's good at magic or a fucking juggler win.
Well, they had a magic guy do the win recently, right? The Chinese guy.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
It was impressive. Or maybe that wasn't America's Got Talent, because Penn and Teller were judging.
Yeah, that would have been Penn and Teller's Fool Us, where only magicians can win. You know who else is a magician? Ridley Scott, because he somehow pumped out a good trailer for Alien Covenant. Beautiful segue, Cal. So Alien Covenant came out with their first...
This is the sound of Cal patting himself on the back.
Yes, it is. Alien Covenant had their first trailer, released on Christmas Day, I believe. And I think it's a good trailer.
Oh, it's a good trailer. Definitely a good trailer.
Not the tone I thought was going to be happening in this movie. Even though all we'd heard was like it's going to be gory, it's going to be scary. Because this kind of played out like a slasher flick.
It's a
trailer to me.
That was my thing when I saw it. I was like, this is playing itself. Okay, horror, yes, but yeah, playing itself out like a slasher gore fest rather than being really quite that scary. But then again, at the end of the day, aliens are going to kill things. And that's
the original Aliens is a horror movie.
Yeah.
Or Alien, rather.
And at the end of the day, all the alien will do is kill you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's kind of as far as it goes. So that's kind of it. But one thing is just like the evolution to the alien and the connection in my head really wasn't being made in any sense. So there's a rumor that, or whatever the mention was, that the ship that they find on this planet is the ship that the girl and Fassbender's head took off in.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
But there was nothing on that ship.
No.
Like, I mean, they had more canisters of the goop, right?
Oh, no. Wasn't that, like, weird proto-alien thing on there?
It was on the planet.
That was on the other one.
She took off, and then it came out.
Yeah,
like,
never mind.
Yeah. So, and the one that looked like a little bit like an alien at the end of that was left on the planet, and she took off. And then now there's eggs already. Like, how did the virus evolve to eggs and facehuggers and human aliens already?
Yeah. Little...
Yeah. And then Ridley Scott's like, I've changed the recipe with a backburster.
Yes. That's my favorite thing. Yeah, but always like, he's like, I'm really changing the alien up. And it's like, what are you doing? They're popping out the other way. Came with the front, now they come with the back. Like, what?
Like I was saying before, like, it would have been better if it just burst out of his ass.
Yeah, way better. It would be way more terrifying.
He's just like, he's getting forced to bend over.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What are you doing? Just,
I guess it would look like real undignified for the person. Like, they're like face down, ass up, show me what you all about. And this fucking alien just flies out of their asshole. Just looks like projectile diarrhea, and everyone's laughing, and Ridley Scott's like, not quite how I thought this was going to go down. Back to the drawing board. He's just like, he has like a whiteboard with like arrows pointing at different parts of the body. He's like,
The thing is, it wouldn't even kill him because it would just like shoot out of him like poop at the end of the day, right? Because it's really about the size of a big turd.
I guess so.
Right? So the guy's just like lying on the ground, just like looking just like wrecked. He's just like...
That was so satisfying.
It was like the worst bout of cramps I've ever had.
Also, I mean, parasites, you know, I know parasites are generally like about... They come out the easiest way. They go in the easiest way and they go out the easiest way. The chest, at least, you know, there's a hole where your diaphragm is, right, under your ribcage, right? Like,
and your
that kind of makes sense.
is probably easier to spread out than it is to
come out your back. Back seems like the worst way.
Because like it's showing the spine is like transforming and splitting, and I'm like, this doesn't.
No,
I get
this is nitpicking. Obviously, this is not.
It hasn't figured out how to be efficient yet. I guess in some fashion or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's still an evolving virus, right? Yeah. Like we still have not gotten to our alien we know and love type thing.
Which is fine. But I don't know. Like, there's a tone missing. It's not what I expected. It feels like Prometheus meets Alien, which I think was his goal. But
no, I was gonna say it doesn't feel like that to me. This feels to me like someone in the late 90s, early 2000s wanted to do Alien, and they're like, I'm gonna make the Alien sequel we all wanted. You know what I mean? And they're like, you know what I mean? Like they're doing that, and they're like doing this weird slasher vibe to it, and you're like, oh, okay,
you nailed it.
That's more what it is. I expected a more Prometheus, like a little more hard sci-fi with a horror slant a little bit. Not what this trailer is. But again, trailers have been so up and down for us, especially the last year we've been doing this podcast. We've seen so many trailers not portray what the final product is going to be. Yeah. Who knows if this is going to, you know... But I like this trailer. Overall, I did.
Oh, I think I like this trailer very much, but you did nail it. It feels like what I think that's kind of coming together in my head right now. That's what put me off, is that throughout the entire dev cycle to get to this point, we've had Ridley Scott backpedaling over everything, changing the name, changing the premise, changing the theme. Suddenly, fucking...
and then we heard a bunch of information all at once, and then radio silence, and then now it seems like it's changed, you know what I mean? Like...
And then Blomkamp comes out, and he's like, competition! I gotta make an Aliens movie!
Yeah.
You know? The Aliens movie I always wanted to make. And then, like, now the backpedals happen, and the trailer feels like that. It feels like a backpedal. Like, there's shots of it, and I'm like, alright, this feels like Prometheus, and then there's shots that feel like Alien, and I'm like, you're backpedaling over, and you're bringing this creature out, looking so far not really all that different too soon.
No. Like, we haven't seen the whole thing. Yeah, like, I don't know what your reinvented alien's gonna look like.
Yeah.
Apparently there are leaked screenshots, and I'm keeping myself away from that. I want to be, like, excited when I see it on screen for the first time.
Yeah, I can get that.
I'm still potentially excited about this, though. This could be good, you know?
Yeah, I'm only excited because when I saw it, and I was just kind of nitpicking into it, because I've been hooked into the news of this whole cycle.
That's the thing too. We were almost like too close to this thing. Like we've been following the news. We even stopped at some point reporting on it because there'd be new information. We're like, we won't put this in this week.
Like every week it was something different, contradicting what was happening from before. And then, like now at this point when I saw it, I was like, I can see where all that news is in this film. But then, when Jed saw it and he started showing it off to all of his families over Christmas.
Cool.
It's a weird time to release a trailer.
Yeah.
Like they're going in the other room trying to like hide it from the kids, and all they hear is, ah! They're like, what is he doing? They were all like, dude, it's gonna be sick, and I'm like, all right, it's actually accomplishing that goal.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, people are getting excited about Alien again.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, go for it.
Like again, like we said, we want this to be successful. Obviously, we're big Alien fans.
Huge Alien fans.
In case you couldn't tell.
As there's an alien queen hovering over our heads.
Let's talk about Michael Fassbender.
Fassbender?
Fassbender. Michael Fassbender reveals why he has no idea if he'll return to the X-Men franchise as Magneto.
Why does he have no idea?
Okay, alright. The contracts of all the X-Men franchise's stars ended with X-Men Apocalypse earlier this year. And while some of them are more keen to return than others, we simply don't know what's next for these characters.
They put James McAvoy as in quotes, as the one that's more keen.
Yeah, which I didn't know. I haven't seen anything about him.
Yeah.
During the most recent press tour for Assassin's Creed, Michael Fassbender was asked about possibly reprising the role of Magneto, and it doesn't sound like Fox has even reached out to him as of yet. I don't know, to be honest, he admitted. I haven't made any sort of decision on it because I have no idea what's happening next with the franchise, to be honest.
Honest.
Yeah. That sounds about right. You know what I mean? With all the stuff we've been hearing about Fox and X-Men.
They don't know what they're doing with it, that's the thing. So they're doing the New Mutant stuff, which that's going to go ahead, and I think that's their attempt at continuing the X brand.
Yeah. And they have Deadpool to, like, rest on, like, that'll be their financial,
And maybe they'll take X-23 along with that, which I have no fucking clue how they're going to fit that into their ridiculous timeline.
No. I wonder if they're just hoping, like, people like X-23 as a little girl, and then they're like, next movie, they're like, yeah, here she is as a grown adult in a different timeline, but you know who it is now, so there you go.
I guess.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because they're not going to go forward with that timeline. So
that's my point. Like, they need a hard reboot and then to give it up. Yeah, they have no plan, and that's the thing. A lot of people have, a lot of the discussion, a lot of people who are talking to the people in charge, and according to the whole rumor mill, is that they still don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Like, we reported on this 5-6 weeks ago, was that they had no clue about what they were going to do with it. And New Mutants is the only thing they have. And that was, like, months and months of dev. And now it's been several months since then, and, like, they still have no fucking clue.
There's, like, 5 guys in a boardroom, and then the whiteboard are, like, napkin doodles, and they're just like, fuck. What about this? Push it over. He's like, this is just the Phoenix Saga again. And they're like, oh, shit. Takes it backwards to the fuck. He just doesn't know what to do.
This is like, we've gone through all of it, and we've wrecked all the best timelines.
Yeah, like, they would... Yeah, at this point, it's because those people aren't coming back. They already kind of, like, soft rebooted within their own old universe. Like, they just need to wipe the slate clean completely and just recast, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. With a new exciting cast, who I don't know who it would be. Probably a bunch of newcomers.
Well, it's the thing is, too, is that I don't want... I want Hugh Jackman gone. I want everyone gone, because I attach the old character and their story to that face.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, for example, Hulk, for the Marvel Universe. They went through 2 Hulks before they eventually went to Assface.
Okay, they went through 1. Edward Norton.
No, the new one, the current one.
And they went to Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, Marvel in itself, but they had the first.
Oh, you mean the old one, the 2003 one,
yeah.
Ang Lee's one.
Ang Lee's one.
Yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah. But that's what I mean is that, like, if you had kept the same actor from the Ang Lee one all the way up until now, even though they're completely from different companies and not related in any fashion, you would attach it as like, oh, he did this, right?
I see.
And doing that with Fassbender again and all that. Or bringing in even Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen or anything, I would immediately attach them to.
Yeah, no, wipe it all clean.
Yeah.
They've been like, Patrick Stewart's like the perfect Professor X. Just fucking wipe it clean.
Sorry, too much.
Yeah, cast all new people and let's start with a fresh timeline. And let's do like a less known X-Men story. You know
There's got to be another bald British guy that's going to fit the bill.
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is. Like, it's, can't be that hard.
No. But that's what it needs to do. It needs to be a fresh restart. It needs to have like a whole new team. I'm hoping, what I'm kind of like hoping from all of this is that with Deadpool if Deadpool is them learning from their mistakes, which we'll see with Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
And if it turns out that they did learn and they've learned how to like leave things alone and let the franchise evolve itself, maybe that'll happen with X-Men. But I don't expect to actually see an X-Men title in the works for another 2 years. They're going to work on the side stuff.
I wonder how long they would have to not make one for Marvel to get X-Men back. It'll probably never happen, but I'm just wondering.
Well, an interesting point on that actually was on a discussion I was listening to recently from a podcast. What the fuck was I listening to? Anyways, was certain characters that they haven't used since like the first movie and stuff, like Sabretooth, for example.
Yeah.
They will lose those in the next few years.
Really?
Yeah, because certain characters are not on the X-Men docket and stuff. They can be taken away. And they will take them away. So they already have a collection of mutants they've taken away from...
Oh, interesting.
From Fox. Now, they can't do mutants, right? So they can't use the characters. But as they keep pulling them away, they start appearing in the comic books, right? And you start seeing those mutants like Beast, for example, suddenly on like the event, like in the not the Guardians of the Galaxy. What was he in recently?
Fantastic Four. Was that what Beast was?
That's where it was.
He might have been in that.
But that's what I mean. They start pulling them and putting them into new places and testing out the characters' validity outside of the X-Men universe or the X-Men.
Well, yeah, actually, they nixed Fantastic Four a little while ago, and they put them all in different teams. Like they put Thing with Guardians of the Galaxy. And stuff.
But again, that's their attempt to make the franchise worthless to them, right?
Yeah, totally.
So they keep doing that, and they keep picking away basically at the corpse. It's like it's dead corpse, and Marvel's just Vulture.
We'll destroy you yet, Fox.
It's like Marvel's just Vulture, and it's just pecking away little pieces of it as it goes. It's just like this skeleton with like a little bit of muscle and sinew trying to crawl away.
Fox is like, this is still a moneymaker. Maybe it won't be, though. Yeah, you never know.
That's the thing. If Deadpool continues to be a moneymaker, they'll cling to that. But if New Mutants turns out to not be
a rousing success
of any kind, that might wrap it up for them.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
All right, in the Sony camp, casting call for Sony's animated Spider-Man movie pretty much confirms lead character. The casting call was for a young African-American Puerto Rican teen from Brooklyn. He is new to the suburban school and now feeling out of place, overwhelmed, and pressured with his new responsibilities and dealing with puberty.
Ooh, Miles Morales.
Dealing with puberty. While trying to fit in, he must do his best to stay out of trouble, and along the way, developing his identity, he's losing old friends, but he's making a new one. Pete. This sounds like a lot like Miles Morales, blah, blah, blah. Anyways.
What is Spider-Man's puberty like? You know, coming up like when he's got what is that? When you wet the bed when you're young.
A wet dream.
A wet dream. Right? For the Spider-Man wet dream.
Oh, yeah. You develop a thorax. Tiny little insects come out of your... You're like, oh, God! It's like this tiny little spider. You know
way worse.
You know you crush a spider, but then there's like a million little babies everywhere? Like he comes that, and you're like, oh, no! Like crawling in his mouth and shit. They're like, oh, they're cum spiders. I'm like, no.
They're all little white ones.
Yeah. Oh. I hate bugs when they're like white and kind of translucent.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's disgusting.
I was thinking more of just like you come the blanket to him, but whatever.
Sure, whatever. Yeah, that too. Before you go assuming that Pete is Peter Parker, a description for that character points to that not being the case. Instead, he's going to be a young, slightly geeky Asian-American teen. He's smart, sweet, and encouraging. Although very unlike any of the friends Terrence has had in his old Brooklyn neighborhood, Pete proves to be a good fit for Terrence, making good decisions. Okay, cool. Anyways, this animated Spider-Man movie, this is going to be in theaters, in like a theatrical release. That's fucking weird still. I mean, remember they announced this? They announced Spider-Man Homecoming and that animated movie? It's like... Hey, I want to see that. For sure. Do you think it's going to be 3D CG animated?
Could be.
Or are you going to be 2D? I would love to see like a beautifully animated, like a 2D Spider-Man like cartoon.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
But that probably wouldn't make it to TV.
No, it probably would never make it in the theaters.
Yeah,
but yeah. I wish. That'd be so cool. I'm just surprised it's going to be a theatrical release. It seems like something they do just to pump out like a straight to DVD. Here you go, kids.
I'm kind of already predicting the I guess you call it the alt left, the extreme left, and people freaking out already about the whole thing. Like, oh, you didn't make the live action Spider-Man, the Hispanic one, so now you're like placating by giving him second tier animated TV.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, and they're like, oh, but it's a theatrical release, and you're like,
but then the right wing people will still be like super pissed about it. Like, how dare you make Spider-Man black? He's not black man, he's Spider-Man. Blah, blah, blah. Like, all right, you're all fucked. I just want a cool animated Spider-Man. I don't care what color he is.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be great to see like animation brought to a theater that was not Pixar or Disney. You know what I mean? I love Pixar and Disney. Don't get me wrong, but like something on screen that's like superhero.
Yeah,
well animated.
We always get like one little droplet, like
or Spawn or something. You know, like
the Spawn's going to be a live action. But,
yeah.
We get little droplets. We get like Kubo and 2 strings from the other studio. Aardman does
Leica.
That's it, Leica, and then Aardman does their little droplets of Wallace and Gromit and all those other things, Chicken Run and
and that's about as close as we get, right?
Yeah, like that's.
Me and you have talked about that. We want like some adult animated stuff. Everything adult, all animation for adults is basically comedy. You know what I mean? It's Rick and Morty, it's Archer, it's Family Guy, that kind of thing. Yeah. Some action would be cool every now and then. John Wick animated.
Well, the stigma on cartoons for adults is primarily dead, right? The biggest thing that everyone talks about every time any animated cartoon, like we put Zootopia on for the kids over Christmas, for like our nieces and nephews, and all the parents sitting around going, "I love how they make it for adults and for kids," right? Like that's now the thing is like everyone's like, "Oh, you know what? You can make animation for adults." Yeah, like that is an option.
Yes, you can. No one's just willing to do it yet.
I don't see Up as a kid's movie. No kid is watching Up and being like, hee hee hee.
No, that's true.
You know, like that whole thing is about his dead wife, and like there's nothing other than the bird. There's nothing cutesy about that movie.
The dog and the bird.
Barely. There's no toy franchise coming off of Doug.
No, you're right. Yeah. All right, next up. Deadpool may not show up in Logan, but apparently there's something in the works with both characters.
Why does everyone push this shit?
There was a rumor that Deadpool was going to be in the newest Wolverine movie, Logan.
Where does he fit into that? This is like... The fucking trailer starts off with a fucking 9 Inch Nails cover by... Johnny Cash. And the whole thing's set in this dystopian desert future. There's... No one cracked a joke. Everyone looks really sad and upset. Yes. And it's like everyone's walking, "Oh, I'm Grumbly Wolverine, and I'm Grumbly Professor X, and I'm fucking Draco Malfoy in a Logan movie." Blah, 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 blah. And then, like, what? Ryan Reynolds is going to jump in and just be like, "Ha, they shot me in the anus." Yeah. Like, why would he be... What context? And then, like, just, like, zoom out of the screen? Like, everyone be like, "Ah."
Yeah, like, honestly, like I said, I think I said this before the podcast, the best way they could do it is if, like Wolverine is like sorting through rubble or something, and like on the back of one of the rubble is like fucking Deadpool's head. I mean, he's like, "Logan, please help," and he just puts him back in or something, like something like that, where it's just like a very small, like it doesn't need to be Deadpool's in the movie, like helping him or something.
But what a weird break in it too, right? Because this film's going to try and hold that tone all the way through. Exactly. And like to suddenly break it with comedy would kind of everyone be like, why did that was tacked on?
You'll be happy to know, Mike, that that's not happening.
No, I know.
The sources say that's definitely not happening. But don't rule out something else involving Deadpool and Wolverine. And as we've heard time and time again, this is Hugh Jackman's last time as Wolverine, blah, 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 blah. We've heard it all before. What do you think of this? Do you think...
It's going to be a cameo in the next movie.
Yeah, like Deadpool 2 is going to have Hugh Jackman show up. I would imagine.
Like I was saying before the podcast, like in the first movie there, he's showing up and being like, "Hey, join our team, fuck you," and he leaves.
Right? Yeah, it'll be something like that.
It's just like that. Because Hugh Jackman is not going to come back and reprise his role as a main character again.
No, exactly.
Like that is dead for him.
Yeah, but I could definitely see some little in-joke or something, right? Like in Deadpool the movie, he fucking... Didn't he have Hugh Jackman's face on his face?
Was that what he did? Hugh Jackman's face?
No. Or was it his own face? I forget who it was.
I forget who his face was. But he makes the joke in the beginning about Hugh Jackman and the Aussie-ness and the smooth balls.
And Hugh Jackman was like world's sexiest man on a cover of a magazine or something like that. Anyways, that would be fine with me. I'm glad it's not a Logan movie, and I'm glad they debunked it as fast as they could. All right. On the DC side of things, Zack Snyder's war on comics continues. Jesse Eisenberg to return in Justice League. Fantastic headline, TheWrap.com. I love that. That's really funny.
Is it confirmed?
Yes, he's coming back in Justice League.
No, fuck.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts talking about nerd stuff, and even when people like the DC movies or kind of like them or like parts of them, nobody likes Jesse Eisenberg as Luthor. No. Nobody does. Nobody likes him.
It was just far away from the character. Like, we're always saying on this podcast that we like the idea of changing and trying new things, but there are certain things you don't do. And what is a good example? Kingpin for Daredevil is a change on him, right? Yep. Like, he should be a big, fat guy, and like he should be like this businessman who's suave and stuff, and instead they made him this like neurotic. Like, he's a genius, but he's a neurotic.
He's kind of a crybaby.
Crybaby. Yeah. Yeah, like he's basically like a big baby.
Yeah.
Right? Which was an amazing change, right? Well done. But you're staying true to the core of the character. Big, strong, intimidating mobster boss guy.
Yep.
Right? There's nothing of Lex Luthor in this. Nothing. There's it's just his name.
Aside from the fact that he doesn't like Superman.
Yeah.
That's probably the only real kernel of Lex Luthor in that character, which is not great. I'm going to read this. The kit slates that Eisenberg will have a featured role in Justice League's.
Featured?
Which means Lex Luthor will make another appearance. They also announced that Queen Hippolyta will be on the blah, blah, blah. Don't care. Okay.
Hippolyta?
Hippolyta? Hippolyta?
Hippolyta.
Hippolyta?
Yeah.
Hippo? Lita. Hippo. Lita. This is how I pronounce things. I'm
You're like the fucking GPS whenever I pull up Pinecrest and it's going, now turn right on Pinnacrest Road.
Yeah. I'm just like an automated fucking service on a computer. I want to see Jesse Eisenberg's character like die, and then
turns out that he's just the son of
like Bryan Cranston rises out of the grave and he's like, real Lex is back, or something stupid, like Bryan Cranston would have been perfect, I feel, Yeah.
Or he could be Lex Luthor the second, and then they bring in Lex Luthor the first.
Yeah, but see, that's what I was hoping the entire time
because Lex Luthor did have a son, a redhead son.
So that's what I was hoping the entire time, because I haven't watched Batman vs Superman since theaters, but I thought that Lex dropped some sort of line
about
saying that like his dad, and that he was Junior, but I don't know if it implied his dad was dead or not. It may have been.
It felt like they implied his dad was dead.
Yeah.
But they could just not.
Yeah, they could just... Exactly. They could just not, Mike. They could just not. He could be, like, floating on a space station orbiting the Earth, and he's like, I also hate Superman. Whatever the fuck he's doing.
He's, like, watching it all on TV. I think I put this together.
Yeah.
I think I hate him.
Yeah, he seems annoying. I get it, son. Something, right? Like, it's just...
Or even just kills his son, like, in an accident in the fight.
How are DC, like... DC's just... I don't want to get on a thing with DC again.
How do they keep making these decisions?
Yeah, and I realize they're already kind of stuck with Eisenberg because, he's in the other one. It'd be really weird if all of a sudden it was Bryan Cranston recast. It was like that's the same man.
You and I just solved it here in an instant. You don't think Jeff Johns couldn't come up with, like, he's Lex Luthor the second?
No, he could.
Wipe him out? Because there is no information out there that said the audience enjoyed Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Nobody said that. No, even the lamos didn't go, he was fine. Yeah. Everyone was like, he's the worst part of the film.
Yeah.
So they're like, he's the worst part. Put him in with a featured role.
The thing I find most like boggling, and maybe it's to DC's credit also that they're willing to experiment with their big characters, but I find it odd that they didn't play it safe with like Lex Luthor, the Joker. You know what I mean? Like they took these huge big risks, and neither of them seem to have paid off. And it's like experiment a little more with the characters that no one cared about, like Boomerang, Captain Boomerang. Like make him something different,
or even for again Suicide Squad, fucking Slipknot. Like you can tie knots real good. Maybe you change his power slightly.
Yeah, exactly. Do something else a little better. They offed him right away, so it didn't matter. But like, something. Try and make a less cool character cool. Like I'm just so surprised with the cinematic universe. They're willing to change it up so much. You know what I mean? Like it's.
But they have made changes with other characters and like done like successfully. And I'm wondering like, are people assigned to particular characters? Now I know the Conjuring director
James Wan
is attached to Aquaman, but wasn't in charge of all the art direction originally for the whole new look for
Aquaman.
I know, but the actor.
Jason
Momoa, right? Because like he's a different look. I mean, I can see the relation between the two, but it's a different look, right? Yeah. And it's a different context for Aquaman as well. I mean, he has had his angry stage, but much angrier, much more gruff. Yeah. A little bit more worn down and torn up, kind of like with the coats and all that.
Drinking whiskey in a giant tidal wave.
Drinking whiskey. Oh, and then also, even apparently, of course, if you go back to this, that as we've said in the last podcast, every time Cal and I make a joke about something that shouldn't happen, it happens. We last podcast said that Aquaman was going to try and take over the whole DCU and become the leader of the team and the main character.
Oh yeah, and there was that news report about fucking Aquaman is going to like fight Batman to be like leader. In charge of the Justice League. Yeah. Superman's just on the sidelines like, okay. Okay.
I just died. I got to take a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anytime we make a ludicrous claim, just know it's going to come true.
Get your hot scoops here.
Yeah.
All right. Now, up next is the Attack on Titan Season 2 trailer, which looks great.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't really expect it to look terrible or anything, so...
Did they change animators?
I don't think so. I think it's the same anime. I'll look it up real quick if you want to vamp for a second.
It just looks slightly different because like there was some changes in the outlines and kind of a couple other things looked a little different.
It looks how I remember season 1, but I also haven't watched season 1 since it came out.
I rewatched it like a couple months ago. It just looks slightly different, but I could be just completely off. It could be the exact same team. But it is, from this trailer, is the manga. Like, I can literally...
So and Mike has read the manga, so... Yeah.
I can literally say that like every scene in there was something I've read in the manga up to date, so that's one really cool thing. But also, I was impressed with how much story they were covering. From what I saw in the scenes and what I remember timeline-wise from the manga, it looks like a pretty big chunk, because there is a portion of it coming up where it's just, it was like fucking 500 pages of dialogue and talking about politics.
It's the same studio animating it.
Okay.
Attack on Titan's always been weird to me because there was a lot of hype around it, which is why I ended up watching it.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great series. I really enjoyed all the action. I felt it was paced very poorly, the anime. For me, anyways. There was so much just yeah. And then all of a sudden, like, epic fucking fight scene. I was like, my adrenaline's pumping. And then all of a sudden, it was like an episode of just like, Aaron, you need to eat. Or like, fucking all this shit. I'm like, oh my god. And then I'm back in it. Like, it was...
They were following the manga timeline and the content really closely because they know the story in itself is extremely intense.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not that I didn't like what was going on in the story. I just felt like, they just droned on for too long. You know what I mean?
That's just going to happen again. And manga does it too. And that information is crucial to understand. Like, I was reading the manga, and then the chapters come out in 44-page chapters at a time, which is nice. But once a month.
You hear that? Fucking Tagashi.
Tagashi, yeah.
Hunter, dude.
Yeah, like just release all of them at once. We'd be pretty happy with it.
That'd be nice.
But in those big chunks, I had to go back over old chapters just to like get myself back up to date with all the information. And it was like 88 pages of just fucking dialogue and dialogue and dialogue. So it's just that they're staying loyal to the source material. But you're right, it does make for an oddly paced
anime. As a show, very strangely paced. Like, just like, that whole episode was just talking, and it was like nothing, not even anything of note happened,
But I will give it to the studio that's making the anime as a credit, is that they do such an amazing job animating those action sequences and making them so fucking intense, right? Like, although the Titan thing and the 3D maneuver gear has never been seen before in anime, and it's really cool, the way that they the way they've drawn it in the manga, like, it's horrible. It doesn't look anything like what it looks like in the show.
Really,
in the show, you're just like, fucking fuck, like
you really get the sense that they're like getting propelled by this thing, and they're like
the pull, and then like the fucking and the fight between the female Titan and Eren, the punches and the anger from him, like screaming at her, and she's like on the ground, like fucking terrified.
Oh yeah, like the action is so good in those.
He's punching so hard, his fist is exploding. Like, that happened in the book, but it did not come across as cool as it does in the anime. So they did such a good job making those scenes so poignant
and come to life,
and how vicious, because that's the thing that the manga's about, is how vicious the whole Titan fight and the war is, and how many people are dying in this epic war, right? They communicate, since it's boring to watch them talk, they communicate it so strongly with really well done action sequences in the show. It kind of compensates and makes the whole show great. Yeah,
no, I agree. Mike, has there ever been a studio, like, I don't want to say a studio because it's not only their fault, but like someone less willing to like capitalize on success than Attack on Titan? I feel like Attack on Titan blew up overseas in North America in a way that anime usually doesn't. No. It usually does not, and I hadn't seen something like blow up here like that since Bleach, probably.
And even the fucking poster design and graphic design is interesting enough that like Jed has zero clue about anime. Like, he doesn't fucking know what Sailor Moon is. Like, zero. And it came up on the Netflix queue. And he was like, "Wow, that looks neat. What's this?" And I'm like, it's like just a poster alone gets like an average. Right? Like, it's, pay attention. Like,
and like this is what 3-4 years in between seasons. Like, I almost feel like the tides have turned on Attack on Titan, because I've seen people talking about Attack on Titan isn't that good. People talking about like, oh, it's not like it. People like are kind of shit. It's already aged so much. People are like already over the phase. Like, it's not the hotness anymore, and they're like. Remember Attack on Titan? Like, they're kind of like over it by now, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy. That like,
what has it been, like 2 years since that first season?
Oh god, no, man, it's been like, it's had to have been like 3.
Probably, but yeah, like it's been a really long time. And the thing I don't get is that they assigned and paid studios.
2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 years.
3 years. They assigned time and studios to animate like, what has it been, 63 episodes of just random shit?
Yeah.
Like, anyone out there who's an anime fan, go on any links or any of the websites right now that you stream your anime on, except for maybe Crunchyroll. I don't know if they'll have it. But, and you look at the episode list, and there's 1 to 13 for season 1, and then there's like fucking 64 episodes of Shinjeki no Kyojin, something. And it's like them in high school.
Yes, yeah, they have that weird Attack on Titan high school fucking thing.
Like whatever. Like they have fucking anything else but the content. And I'm like, you made 63 episodes of not badly animated content.
Yeah. It's
for 3 years.
It's not like they didn't have material to go off of. The manga was been going since...
They did catch up at the time.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, at the time, they had pretty much catched up, and Attack on Titan was slower in releases than it was right now. It wasn't the hit it was. So
okay, so
when it was
there was like kind of a reason.
Yeah, when it was a hit, it was like someone shoved a bottle rocket up the artist's ass, and he was like, and like writing down the script as he was rocketed down the street. And he's been churning out a chapter a month now for about 2 years. So there is now enough content for if there is another large gap between season 2 to season 3. There's no excuse. There's no way in season 2 they're covering enough information unless they literally just like skip everything. Like they're just gonna be like, and then Eren punched and he won. Like that's how far they have to skip.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's just baffling to me that like how popular that was, and they seem so blindsided by it that like it's only coming out now.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, some gaming news. I only got a little bit tidbits for you. Nintendo files trademark application for Eternal Darkness. Possible virtual console release on the Switch. Eternal Darkness is a horror game. It's a cult classic. Came on the GameCube. Developed by a Canadian studio, actually, here in Ontario. Yep. By Silicon Knights. They're not. I don't think they're a studio anymore, sadly. But they, this is started, rumors of like, oh, maybe there's gonna be a Nintendo Switch sequel, or maybe the virtual console release. Also, this could just be Nintendo just refiling because they just want to keep it. Yeah, that could just be them being,
which they do.
Yeah, we'll keep that. Yeah,
which, as a notorious hoarder of titles, Nintendo is it.
Yeah, it's just
they have a
so it could be
library of shit they've never touched.
It could be absolutely nothing. This might not be news, so that's where I don't want to go super deep into it. But it could be something, but like it's more likely just nothing. They just want to keep the property and title themselves.
Well, it's a promising piece of news if they do it. It was a good game.
Yeah, totally. Had a lot of unique ideas. They had all the sanity effects. Yeah. All right. I didn't vet this one before I'm going to put it on the podcast, so if it's terrible, I apologize. Final Fantasy 15 character designer Roberto Ferrari. That's a great name.
He looks like a Roberto Ferrari.
He does. Yeah. Comments on his creations on Facebook. All right.
What's with artists and hats?
Oh, I don't know.
I wear hats. You wear hats. Fucking Scotty Young doesn't do anything but wear hats.
Oh.
Like, we all wear hats.
I didn't know it was a thing. Yeah. We're just too artsy for it. We all want to
we're too artsy for hair.
We all want to wear berets, and that's just our fucking surrogate. Okay, he says on...
Ariana?
Who's Ariana?
The Dragoon.
Oh, okay, on Ariana. The Dragoon. Yeah. Ariana, they have changed the concept. She was part of a military squad that had a different kind of attack from others. Basic his soldiers attacked salt and jump. Okay, so he's also Spanish, I guess, so this is a translator from that. Also... Warning, there may be spoilers for Final Fantasy 15 in here, so skip ahead if you need to. On
Gentiana, that's the messenger.
Yes, I know who she is. Yeah. I made 2 versions, one in uniform and one in a formal party dress. Let's say that the new Gentiana has the dress inspired by 2 previous versions. Collar, floral pattern, color, blah, blah. In short, they wanted to keep, that's not a word, while modifying it. The face, fortunately, remained the same. Particularly unique, in my version, it also had glasses with red frames, not always worn.
That's good. I know those, but I really liked her design. It kind of was a nice little mix because like you were mentioning before that not a lot of the characters had really great strong designs. They were going so strongly in Final Fantasy 15 for making it contemporary. They were hitting you over the head with it, going like, "This is like if it happened today." Did you get that? It happened today.
I think this is something I want to talk about in our eventual Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
It's part 2 spoiler cast. I want to hit on that again.
I grew to like that whole component later on, but then like by the time you get to the bigger cities and stuff, and you start seeing the Final Fantasy come out, you're like, actually, this should have been that way all along. So out of the great character designs, actually, Gentiana was one of the ones I actually really liked. She was very cool and mysterious to have around.
Arden is the purple-haired guy, right?
Has she photobombed you yet?
Yes. Yeah. I got that like the second she appeared.
I got photobombed by fucking Carbuncle.
No way.
Yeah.
I have not seen him yet.
Yeah. So I found out the only way he pops up is if you put the game on easy mode. He won't pop up otherwise.
I'm really glad I played that platinum demo.
Yeah, or possibly he does. Okay, so like this, and I put this out there so the crowd to maybe figure this out for me. So I never saw him.
Yeah.
Found out like he only pops up on easy mode if your health gets too low, and if your health gets too low, he pops up every single fucking time and just heals you all back to full.
Oh.
So like, welcome to easy mode.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I saw a picture of me in a combat with him like standing on a rock, and I'm like, did he just fucking photobomb me, right? And then I saw him again after a fight. And I don't remember using a healing item, but my health was full. So I'm like, does he just not have a sequence in
He just shows up and he's like, "You doing all right?
Yeah,
cool."
he just like pops up and maybe spot heals or something. Because like he was just in the back, but he's so fucking tiny, you can't see him because he literally is his size, like a squirrel on his shoulder.
Yeah, he's tiny as fuck.
Yeah,
interesting. All right, Arden, purple-haired man.
Yeah.
I gave birth to Arden. Okay, in December of 2010 when Kingsglaive was not yet in the pipeline. In the movie, it's a little different from that of the game. More faithful to my plan. I hope you like it the same.
Yeah, so did you like the one where he had like the crow's wing attached to his arm design more than...
Yes, absolutely. But I like his design in the game too.
I like his design in the game.
He's one of the few I look at and I'm like, that's a Final Fantasy character. You know what I mean? Like, he almost reminds me of Seymour or something from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I liked his design. I liked his outfit. I did prefer the wing. It was a little bit more creepy.
Me too. Umbra. That's the dog.
Yeah.
Along with the characteristics you mentioned, there are others that I prefer, which I have disappeared from histories. Ninjas had a solid, and they were very similar to those you see in Kingsglaive. I'd like to... Between just us, the dog Umbra turned into one of those characters. My poor Umbra will never be human.
Oh, so Umbra was human once.
Yeah, I guess it was going to be a ninja.
That would have been kind of neat, because I wanted to see that kind of relation. So they had the two dogs, right? And then Umbra was one, and I guess Astra would have been the other, like Umbra and Astral. They never showed the white one, and it would have been cool if they were like two like ninja characters that acted in the back. I'm fine with them being dogs, but they could have just turned into dogs.
Yeah.
Like, I would have
like,
taken that.
It's a dog, and then, like, he gives him the note, and he just, like, poofs into a ninja and, like, runs away really fast. Like, in real time, you're like, what the fuck? And there's no explanation ever. You're just like, okay.
He's like, did he take off with my note? Is he, like, a thief, or was that normal?
Yeah. I was like, what happened?
He's like, we live in a world where, you know, people, like, fucking fly through the air and can teleport and phase through reality.
Yeah. That ninja's not that weird.
So,
that dog ninja.
Is that really that weird?
On development, I must say they are very disorganized.
Ooh.
We staff 200 souls in it. We had to work even when the story had not been defined. In 2013, in fact, the blessed story kept changing every 3 months, and the deadline for delivery of the game that definitively had been set for the end of 2014. Who would imagine they then would have pulled for long until you get November 2016? In the world of animation, however, the world where I come from, the story is a catalyzed guide before calling its staff to avoid this type of waste. Okay, so that's interesting. They just had to keep working, and you know, Tabata and Nomura are like, ah! Like, they don't know the story, and they're like, you guys keep working, and they're like, dog is a ninja.
You know what's funny? We made a joke about that, literally.
No,
like,
did we?
Yeah, during the whole production of the stupid game, they kept on like going halfway through and then throwing down something and being like, so we finished making like the angel. There's no angels, and then like he just like fucking throwing something else. We made that joke, and it was literally that. They literally halfway through would just suddenly just go, no.
We define the world.
We do.
Podcast defines the world. That is crazy. That's interesting, actually. That's more than I think an artist should be able to say on social media, but who am I to fucking...
Yeah.
All right. New characters on Final Fantasy VII. New characters with Final Fantasy VII. Unfortunately, there are not so many. I just reinterpreted existing ones. I do not have a big margin of fantasy as it was for Final Fantasy 15. All right, so that's on Final Fantasy
because he's working on the Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Yeah.
But why would they introduce fucking new characters?
Yeah.
I would be pissed.
I'm sure someone fucking asked about that.
Because I'd be pissed. Like, could you imagine playing that game and then suddenly being like, wow, this is so faithful to the... Why is there a dog?
All of a sudden there's like Dark Cloud. He has like black hair and he's like, oh.
And has a gun.
Yeah, he's just like swishing his hair and he has a big gun. It's a gun the size of Cloud's sword. It's like fucking Magnum he's dragging around. Like Pyramid Head dragging around his sword, like...
It's like the Shadow of the Black Sonic?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Shit like that. Anyways, that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
That was cool. Alright, and a little bit of nice news to end off on. Shuhei Yoshida, the former president of PlayStation, he now holds a different title. I'm not sure what it is. But Final Fantasy 15 is his game of the year. Cool. And so it's also Final Fantasy creators Hironobu Sakaguchi. I've heard that name before.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's also his game of the year, which I mean, sure. that's fine. Bigger. I think it's a bigger deal for Shuhei Yoshida.
Yeah, but it's nice to hear too, because like I was concerned with the initial release, and you know, like it was a rough start of a game, and then like as I played and got to the end, I started to love it more and more. And then after I beat it and played a little tiny bit of the additional content, because again, I think the order, and we'll hit on this on the full spoiler cast review of the game. You know, like at the end, I didn't continue with it, but as it matured inside of me, I was like, wow, actually, that was well done. Like, it's not the greatest Final Fantasy. It doesn't cap the top 3.
No.
But it was a Final Fantasy that I thoroughly enjoyed, that felt like Final Fantasy by the end of the game, and I had a really good time. And it does have one of the best RPG action combat systems I've ever touched.
Yes, the combat system's fantastic. I'm still really enjoying it. I'm not as far as Mike's beating the game at this point.
Yeah. I've gotten even into the
minutia.
Monotonous stage at the end where like the combat should just be old by this point, right? And even then, like the systems in the beginning, like link striking and stuff like that, like it really at the end of the day, like, you know, they
stumbled onto something there. It is like it just feels fun.
Yeah, and it feels like your characters are alive and there to help you and everything like that. And the way they move in action and they incorporate together is all part of it. But at the end of the game, like that kind of becomes almost like unnecessary, because like the big end game monsters kill everything in one shot. So your team, you have no control over. They're all like, duh! Right? And you're just like throwing pots at them until you run out, and you're like, okay, you guys are all dead, and I might as well just do this myself. Right? And a lot of people follow that method, which I actually would say, as I keep watching all the videos, is the wrong way to play. But anyways, besides all of that, it's still a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
You know, so
I agree.
Totally down.
All right, and coming up next is going to be our pet peeves for movie and TV watching experiences. Yeah. So stay tuned for that.
Peeves. Stay tuned for the peeves. What a weird word.
Peeves?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is a weird word. It's back to the Pens and Pixels podcast, second segment, focused on pet peeves. Pet peeves. We all have them. You know, you're watching TV. Sometimes you got the constant pausers. You got the people asking, what did they just say? And this is a conversation about that.
Yeah. It's those things that just wreck it for you. So, you want to start with TV?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm just thinking any movie watching experience.
Any experience? Okay.
Let's go with the ones that are like people-based, where like, you know.
Yeah. So we're going to go with the people-based stuff. So, as a good forefront for like the kind of like viewer I am, and this applies to games for me as well, because we can put pet peeves for gaming as well on this if you want.
Sure.
Is like I'm an engrossed gamer to video watcher of any kind. When I sit down, I want to, like, if I'm in a video game or if I'm in a movie, I want to be gone. Like, thought process leaves. I don't think about bills. I don't think about rent. I don't think about mortgage. I don't, everything goes. And I'm like, oh my god, if I don't, like, move Ellie left right now, I won't save Joel.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's all that should be in my head.
I want to be tucked in. I want to be, like, comfortable position, and I want to be, like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to be reminded of anything in the outside world. And for like a movie or something, I have no intention of getting up for the next 2 hours, however long it is. I just want to have one full experience. You know what I mean?
Until I break and I turn it off, nothing else should. Now, that's a high order.
Sure.
And I don't expect to maintain that all the time. But...
Well, you know, when you're in a movie theater or something, obviously.
Movie theater, obviously, is the same thing. But when I'm watching or playing anything... talking during a movie periodically, like dropping something and being like, oh, why would he do that? Like, just once in a while.
Yeah, a throwaway line you don't expect an answer to.
Yeah. Or even if someone's got a really, really good, like, Mystery Science Theater drop, like, I'll let that, like, obviously go for it. But the little stupid shit. So, as of today was one of mine. I'm playing my first run through of Beyond Two Souls, and I'm like, I'm totally into this, and I'm just totally shut down. And Jed's in the kitchen, and periodically he'll come out and he was dropping... It was nothing. It was like, we gotta shovel the driveway. I'm aware this driveway's not shoveled yet. Leave me the fuck. And I'm like, gone. I'm like, okay, whatever. Comes back, and I'm like, all right, so I'm just going to... And it was getting into those action time sequences moments, and I'm like, all right, here we go, and I gotta just make sure to press R1 so he climbs the cliff, and then L1, and then forward. And then he comes in, and he's just like, do you want a pizza? I missed the fucking button. I fell off.
No.
And then like the scene changed, and I'm like, great, now I gotta.
It's the worst in a game like that too, because like there's literally like consequences for your actions.
Yeah. So I got to reload the fucking scene. So it's like 4 or 5 just stupid questions he can answer himself. I just took the headphones off, put the controller down, and I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna fucking do the dishes and shovel the driveway.
Yeah, get all the annoyances.
Just get all these things out of the way. And then like I'm just sitting there like I'm fucking wasting my time that I had set up for all this fucking shit. I was gonna do this later. Sit back down, and then like downstairs he comes up and he's like, I'm working on my masters, and I'm like, no, no talking. He sits down next to me sometimes, and he's like, I'll co-pilot. I'm like, I'm a solo flyer. I don't need Goose. Goose died. Like, I don't need you to tell me what's going on the fucking screen. Talking incessantly through something. Mm-hmm. Some people love that shit.
Yeah, so to play off that a bit, it's the person who says they'll drop some like knowledge on you about, oh, that actress is this, or like, you know, in this, and you're like, and you just kind of like, you just nod, and it's like, you know, and then they say, oh, what did they say? It's the what did they say people? Well, what did they just say? And it's like, okay, it was clearly important. You just tell me the need to, that person was in Hocus Pocus in 1993. I don't care about that. Yeah. And then you got to be like, okay, well, he just said, and then you're missing more, and then you're like, fuck, and then. A lot of times, you know, if you say you're in the luxury of your own home, you go and rewind it, and then they're almost like kind of offended that you're like, oh, like, well, sorry, I interrupted your movie, and it's like, you did this. Don't get mad at me for rewinding the movie.
Plus, now it's just broken the whole thing because now that you're getting into the music has been picking up, the pace has been picking up, everything's going to a point, and then you had to stop it, and then you had to bring it back, and now that entire build-up's gone, and this entire scene that's supposed to have happened at an exciting point. You now started halfway through, so there's no more build up. Now there's no flow. That's not exciting. Maybe
us as artists we're a little more picky with that. I don't know how the regular person is, but like, you know, we were like, I'm always like, I want to see it as the director intended. You know what I mean? Or it's like, and it's like, that's usually is one solid.
As a storyboard artist sitting back there, like check marking all these scenes to make sure that like it all fits into each shot.
Yeah, no one's planning for like your spouse interrupted you in this scene, so this is a throwaway or you know some shit. That always has bugged me, and that's been like, you know, girlfriends throughout the years have done that. Parents throughout the years do that.
Oh, I have one for, it was so bad. It was a guy who was clearly on his first date with this girl, and he wanted to do her so bad. It was very clear. Mm-hmm. He was spending the whole time, like, whispering shit very loudly. Okay. That was so sexist and offensive. I'm like, dude, this girl's never going to sleep with you. It wasn't until we started watching the movie that I realized that she probably would be, if she was tested, legally retarded. She was so dumb, but she was so loud, and it was. I think this ended his entire thought process of ever sleeping with her because the movie clicked on, and she was just suddenly asking the dumbest fucking questions, things that were like so obvious. So it's not just like, what did he say? I don't get it, right? It was more like, why is the car red? And I'm not even making it as a joke. It was literally like, why is the car red? And he's just like, because it's a fucking sedan? I don't know. Like 25 minutes straight.
Oh my god.
So, why is he running?
Movie chatterers, yeah. Like,
but it's not even movie chatterers. This was retarded person. And he's just like getting mad at her. He's like, because he's angry. Like, in the middle of the thing. We're all now done with the movie. This show is the better show.
I definitely had an experience where there was movie chatter going on in a theater. I don't get it often, but there was... No. You know, like, well, as when we saw Doctor Strange, there was, like, that loud woman who kept saying, like, oh, wow. Like, she kept being...
was there?
Yeah, we kept being, like, surprised. Like, she kept surprised by, like, very, like, you're like, well, why now? But, like, I remember when I saw I Am Legend, I saw it with one of my friends, and there were 3 guys behind us, and they were basically treating it like a night where you'd have drinks and watch a dumb movie, and everyone would be, like, ragging on the movie while you're watching it. This guy's making these fucking stupid comments about I Am Legend the entire time, but like, well, if I was doing this, and I'd just do this, and I would just take that plane, and I would just do this, and I would just do this, and I would just do... And it was...
That's a particular kind of pet peeve, is the I would just do it better.
Yeah, and it's like...
You're gonna fight the zombie apocalypse better than fucking...
Than Will Smith? I don't think so. And then, but it got to the point where, spoilers for I Am Legend... just in case. Will Smith is like, Will Smith's dog is dying. It's like a fucking heart-wrenching scene.
Oh, that was the only good scene in the whole, and it was a bad scene, but it's a good scene.
And the guy's still like making like jokes about like, who fucking knows what. I turned around and I remember like my exact words were like, fucking be quiet. This is a heart-wrenching scene. I'm turning. I'm like, I never tell people. I never ever tell people in movies to shut up or whatever. I usually just deal with it.
Now
like,
your eyes are locked on the screen. Like I can't look back at them because they're laughing at me. They're laughing.
It was. I was like, this is fuck. It was. He ruined the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So movie chatterers like that are annoying. I don't get that much though. Another thing. This is more of a game playing one. This is probably when we were younger. But when your parents came in and would say like, okay, you got to go do this now, and you're like, okay, I need to find a save point. And they're like, they just didn't understand. And they're like, turn it off now. And you're like, I need to... You don't understand.
I hate it. So it was worse.
I'm willing to do your bidding, but just, I need to... Please, let me get to this.
It was worse in the MMO days. Like, with Jed, I'd be at home and I'd be sitting and I'd be, like, on an MMO. And there is no save point and there is no stopping. There are human beings operating with me. And I would even set it up and be like, sweetie, I'm raiding tonight. Raiding means that 45 people have arranged their day to sit with me and play for 3 hours. Yeah. Okay? There is no stopping. And then he would come over and ask shit. But then some of the times, he'd start coming over and like nuzzling and be like, oh, let's go. Like, you know, and I'd be like, and I'm like, I literally have to say no to sex because there are 45 human beings in front of me. And he's like, it's just a game. And I'm like, but there are people. Like, I'd unplug my headphone and be like, you can hear them. They're talking.
Sticks his dick in your ear. Fuck this. I'm getting what I want. Regardless.
Yeah. But there's no pausing, but I hated that. I used to do the save point thing all the time, too. But it was also, we did abuse it, you have to admit it sometimes.
For sure.
They come down and be like, can you take the garbage out? And be like, gotta find a save point 45 minutes later. There was no save point.
Yes, there were certainly moments, but there's also certainly moments where they didn't understand that, like, and they got, like, frustrated with you, and you're like, no, but that's fucking... I can't. Yeah. Gaming's come a long way, though. We can just put it in pause mode, or, not pause.
Rest.
Yeah, whatever the fuck.
But even then, most games now, like, save anywhere. There's no such thing as a singular focus point where it loads or saves the game.
Yeah. So another one is, volume adjusters.
Oh.
Constant volume adjusting. I've only dealt with this a select few times. My previous roommate's father has come visit us, and he's I don't want to say he's an elderly man. He's an older guy though, and he just constantly like he'd be turning he couldn't hear the talking segment, so he'd turn it up real loud, like way louder than we would ever have the TV. We kept it around like 28, 35 somewhere in there, and he's like up to 99, and we're like, and me and him are just like leaning back, like giving each other glances, like we know what's gonna happen in this movie, and it's gonna fucking break the TV soon. It's like John Wick style, like all of a sudden, and he's like, ooh, a bit too loud. Turns it down to like 70, and you're like, it's still way too loud. And yeah, but he just constantly just a little bit up, a little bit down. People are still just talking, same conversation, same shot. He's just like a little bit up, a little bit down. It's just like, this is really taking me out of this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we have some volume adjusters sometimes. I got bad with the same kind of context as screen adjusters.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every movie apparently has a color gamut they have to adjust it to, which is bullshit. But, like, we'll sit down and turn it on, and, I mean... Sometimes for certain horror movies where they're like all black, basically most of the time, because all they've done is shot it in shadows. And I have to admit, like they do put some really high saturation on some horror films to try and be like, you can't see in the shadows. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I can't see shit. But like I've had people, God, who was it? It was Brian, I think. But yeah, every fucking time we put on a movie, it was just suddenly that menu was up and suddenly the color balance was just going like just these couple of points back and forth. I'm like, dude. It's not, and he's like, no, it makes a big difference. And I'm like, no, it's just seriously not going to make a big change in any context whatsoever.
When you go to someone's house and they have Auto Motion Plus, and it makes everything looks everything like a soap opera, and you're just like, this is just the worst.
I've turned it off on all of my parents' TVs. I have 5 TVs in the house, right? Because my dad decided that every room had to have a TV in it.
I feel like older people don't seem to notice. You know what I mean? No. And when you turn it off, they're like, oh, that looks better. And you're like, yes, it does. Yeah.
My parents noticed, but they said they liked it more. I'm like, you can't possibly like it more, right? So I left it on because they weren't gone. But then when they left me to watch the house, I went around to every TV and turned it off because they don't know how to go and find it. Because like you were saying before this podcast, they're fucking hard to find to turn off. Yeah. Like it's always different. So they don't know how to turn it back on. So I turned it off and they came over and they're like, the picture on our screen's a lot better. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, it definitely is.
You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah, a lot of times they just don't seem to notice. It's weird to me. Because I notice immediately. You're like, oh, God. Yeah. What have you done?
It was like sitting into The Hobbit and I didn't realize that the 60 frames per second camera they were going to use for the Hobbit movie was actually used. And then like watching it, I was just like, good God, it was like Golem running around with like fucking camera, being like, ha ha ha, steal the hobbits. Like, fucking God, this looks awful.
Do you have any more real life ones, or would you like to take it into the actual world of the TV and movies?
Oh, I got more of the real life ones.
Sure, let's go.
I hate, and we said it at the beginning, of this constant pausers.
Yep.
So like I said, being ingrained into a movie is extremely important. Huge importance to me.
I don't mind like one bathroom break type thing.
Oh, I don't mind pausing.
Yeah.
Like a yearly tradition in my house is every Halloween we get everyone together, all of the students that stayed with us, and we put on a horror movie. Mm-hmm. Right? We turn out all the lights. We are like we're on the floor in blankets and shit, and we turn on a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot of fun because like the foreign kids come over and they haven't seen much of the horror films.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, ah, like literally terrified. And we're just like watching Lights Out, and they were like gasping to death.
No.
It's not even that bad of one. Showing The Conjuring, Jesus Christ, they flipped.
Yeah.
But like we're watching that, and then like everyone's getting up suddenly because someone had to go to the bathroom and someone had to get something to eat, and we're like, all right, let's stop it there, right? And so it's fine. But and actually, Jed's pretty bad with this, but other people way the fuck worse is the constant pausers. Like everything is a pause. So the flow and generating of a movie is really important to me, and I start to fall in because constant pausers don't do it like 5 minutes into the movie and pause, right? It's usually about 40 minutes into the movie. Yeah. You're like, here we go. The world's fallen away. There's no such thing as mortgage. There's no such thing as jobs. Oh my God, this monster's cool. I gotta get a fucking egg roll.
Yeah.
Like up they get, and I'm like, oh, all right, fine. That's the one. Come back down. Oh, 1 second. On my phone.
Sometimes people, and sometimes it causes a chain event if they're with enough people. All of a sudden, okay, well I need to, and you're like, oh God. And like,
it's worse when it's one person though, because if it's like a group of people, it's a chain reaction. You're like, oh fuck, people. Right, and that's why I don't usually do the big group viewings if that's the case. But it's when you have a constant pauser, the person who just thinks like they don't see it. They don't get ingrained in the same way. Mm-hmm. So like pausing all the time is fine, and I'm like, and the movie sucks for me every time. Yeah. I've had movies that I've gone back and like you. It's funny. I was listening to an older episode of the podcast, and you were like, you always judge a movie really harshly the first time you watch it, and then the second time you watch it, you're like, wow, that was really good. Yeah. Because most of the time, the first time I'm watching it, someone's fucking it up.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. You got any other human ones?
I can't think of any. That's like the big ones for me.
Those are the big ones?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the talkers, but there's also the elderly talkers. So Jed's dad is really bad for this. He just wrecked every Christmas movie this year. We tried to put on Star Trek Into Darkness. And we told him, like, his wife was super pissed at him, like, this year you're going to shut up. And everyone's like, don't talk, right? And it was so involuntary for him to talk in a movie, but he's a, what is that called? A commenter. Like everything that's happening, he's just reiterating. Like, jump! Go here!
Oh
right? No, don't go in there. Why did you go in there? I told you not to go in there. We told him not to. In the first beginning, he's literally got his hands and they're twitching, and you can hear him going,
verbal diarrhea, like literally wants to come out.
He's forcing himself, and he's starting to twitch his head sideways until he can't stop himself, and actually it's just like, oh no, like he's trying so hard, and I'm like, this is so much worse.
So here's another thing I don't enjoy. It happens more often than I like, but people who it's the same thing talking during a movie, but it's also the people who instead of kind of like the guy who was like, oh, I just do this. It's the people who are like, they're almost like determined to hate the movie from the start. They have their arms crossed. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. I was like, yeah, it's a horror movie. Everyone needs to make stupid decisions because it wouldn't happen otherwise. Yeah. Fuck off. And then I was like, no, this is dumb. I'm not scared. It's like, yeah, if you're not willing to sit down and be scared, it's not going to be scary to you. Like that's how it works.
I hate that the most when you're showing, like, you get this movie and you're like, so-and-so would love this. And they do. All they ever watch is fucking sci-fi, let's say, right? And you bring in Stranger Things, but they're determined to hate it.
It's like a popular thing, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to like this or something. Yeah,
like your girl there who hated The Conjuring. Probably because it was popular, but they're so determined to it, and you turn it on, and they're like, nah, this is shitty. I don't want to see it. And I'm like, you don't dislike this.
Yeah,
you really don't.
And they start nitpicking things, and like, this is why I hate it. And you're like, because of that weird shot they did. Like, that's not.
Oh, but even the shit they pick out is literally nothing. It is not even a thing. They're like blue. And you're like, what about it? It's blue.
Like,
what does that mean?
Or they'll pick like the one like one thing in there, and they're like they just laugh at it. And they're like, well, that's the stupidest thing. You're like, it's not the stupidest thing.
Or
it's like one like small flaw in an otherwise great movie or something.
Or they over nerd about it and something. They're like, well, if you're gonna tunnel through a fucking quantum dimension, they wouldn't use some machine like that. You're like,
yeah, it's even better when it's like completely fictional.
Yeah, you're like, that doesn't. Your other show you watched has puppets.
Yeah,
like you don't care.
Yes,
you do like this. You're just trying so hard to hate this.
Yeah. People determine to hate things beforehand are kind of annoying. All right, so for things that actually happen in movies, I have a small list here that I'd like to go over quickly. The blue beam in the sky. Okay, so there have been several movies that have done this just in the last couple of years.
Is it an actual thing?
Blue beam in the sky. Yeah, have you not noticed this fucking epidemic?
I've never heard this term.
Okay, blue beam in the sky. End of Fantastic Four, the news movie. The villain, blue beam in the fucking sky. There's a giant blue beam, and that's where the final climactic thing is happening. Man of Steel, there's a giant blue beam going up into the sky. X-Men Apocalypse, apparently there was a giant blue beam going up into the sky.
Well, it was Magneto.
Suicide Squad, there was a giant blue beam going up to the sky because of Enchantress.
So you mean like there's like the last battle happens, and when it happens, some sort of thing.
There's some sort of giant apocalyptic blue beam going up into the sky, and it's so fucking stupid. It happened in The Amazing Spider-Man. It happened in Transformers. It happens so often that it's just like, Jesus Christ! Like once I finally got it pointed out to me, I was like, it is in everything, and I was like, it just keeps happening. Can you not come up with something more inventive?
I'll tie that directly into also everything has to be on a really tall building or high up.
Yep.
That I always get really fucking tired of. I mean, I get in like fucking Avengers, it was the same thing.
Yep. Beam into the sky, open a portal.
Was it a beam? Yeah, it was a beam. But like everything has to be. They're like, oh, it needs a signal, and I'm like, I can get a fucking cell phone signal anywhere. You can send them if you're sending a beam message into space.
No.
The apartment buildings are not getting in your way. You know, like you can fucking send a signal. Like, come on.
Okay, this is...
I'm just standing next to their fucking machine with my cell phone and be like, 5 bars! 5 bars!
You can do it here, Spider-Man. You don't need to go up there. Fight fucking lizard. Okay, the next one is... This one's kind of a pet peeve just because it's just been done to death and I'm so tired of this. When the villain's motive is to take over the world, it's just so, like... overdone at this point. And I know we're also adult men, and like we've grown up with cartoons where this was the goal, and this has continued to be the goal into the adult movies we watch. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I wish there was something more, which is kind of like why I like Civil War so much, because there was Baron Zemo was like, I'm trying to topple them from the inside. It was more interesting than blue beam in the sky, take over the world, or, something like that.
The end game, too, of after that point, like, not even just take over the world, like, if they're trying to take over and rule the world, I might take that one a little bit more, where they're like, I've got this massive army and I want to implement fucking, like, military law across the globe and return prima
But it's usually like, I want to cleanse the earth, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. So that is these two. It's one, it's like, I want to wipe out all life on the earth. What are you going to do after?
Yeah, what's the point?
You're just going to stand on the ash and be like, well, that was done.
Yeah.
Look, a lizard. Like, like fuck, what?
Like, and, there are things where I can buy it more, like Dragon Ball Z, like, Cell was bred to be a weapon, and he wants to do that, and, like, he doesn't really have a purpose in mind after that. He's just like, I want to fucking kill everything. It's like, all right, cool.
Or the, like, I'm harvesting the earth, so I'm going to, like, tear it up and use its pieces. Like, there's some little bit more excusable points, but even then...
And it's not like it can't be done well, but, like, it's just so overdone at this point. When someone wants to take over the world, and I don't want to, it's almost kind of like an eye roll. You're saying, all right, like...
Yeah, but also criminals who are doing massive world damage for money.
Yeah.
You have shit tons with what you've done.
Yeah.
Right? So that's good. But then you're like, okay, whatever the time of the currency is, it doesn't matter if it was like 90 years ago and, $50 million was actually a big deal, which it still is, but you know what I mean? Like, $50 million today wouldn't do shit for someone in comparison to someone who asked for, like, 10 billion.
Yeah.
But, like, you get the money, you are on everyone's list.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
What's the end goal? Again, what's the end goal?
Yeah, but the only thing you can do with money is big things. So you'll buy a big house and build a big which they can see.
Yep.
And they're like, he's over there. Like, even if you did it all cash, what you buy is physical stuff, which is easy to track.
Yep.
And money is now useless.
What are you going to fucking do?
Yeah.
one thing I did again, Doctor Strange, the villains thing kind of was like I want to destroy the world, but
we've merged the worlds together.
Yeah, but it was kind of again we both talked about how Mads Mikkelsen's little speech there when he was in that weird bondage suit. It was kind of convincing to us. It felt like he believed that like merging these two worlds would be the best thing. I was like, okay, like I buy the way he sold it to me. You know what I mean?
I watched as a kind of a little soliloquy off the side. I watched the history of Dormammu, which is actually really really complex. It's hidden inside of the history of the Doctor Strange books. Like it's never really discussed, but throughout a whole bunch of books it comes across. And the really interesting part is, long story short, he's this entity from a particular universe that feeds on dimensional energy. Right, and he takes over the dark dimension, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But by merging all the universes together, he gets more energy to feed himself, right? And it's an addiction to him. It's ish, but anyways, that's a good way of just kind of putting it. I thought that would have been kind of a neat way of just kind of giving a bit more of a motivation, being like, I want to merge all the universes together, not because I just want to rule them all, but because if I merge them all together, I get to feed my addiction for eternity.
Yeah, like even that is like there's something to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's an end goal. It's not. Yeah. It's not like.
It's not like you just get
what
to
are you going to do afterwards, man?
Everything and
a lot of times it ends up being like, well, he's so crazy, he just wants to kill everything. It's like great, like that's annoying. The villainous laugh is another like very overdone thing.
I don't hear it that much on often.
I feel like I hear it in kids shows a lot. Maybe that's just
Yeah, I think
like
that's really.
like okay.
I haven't heard a villainous laugh in a long time.
I feel like it's still around. I complained about this like a couple years ago when we were watching, I think Avatar or something maybe, and I was like, why is he laughing? Why is there always fucking laugh? It's such a cliche at this point. You don't even think about it. You're like, oh yeah, the villain's laughing. You're always like, this is weird.
My one on that as well is I always hate the bad guy that risks all to just enact more violence. So,
example.
That's like okay. So the whole scene reaches a climax, and the characters are climbing up some ridiculous place to get to the generator to turn it off.
Sure.
Right? And then the bad guy jumps out and throws them towards the little piece of glass that's stopping them from getting sucked down into space to have a fight on the glass. No good is gonna like don't fight them. Like don't do that. Why would you throw yourself into the spot where you're going to just get closer to death? Like stop destroying your own machine. Stop fighting on the thin layer of glass to outer space or the fucking little like you threw them there. It wasn't like I knocked them over and they fell onto it. Every time they're thrown directly at it.
Yeah.
Like their intention was to put them there. Like you were a master tactician. You have fought these combat situations where you figured out how to drop 6 guys by doing a backwards kickflip and landing perfectly. You are a master of strategy and how to plan out a combat situation. Even if you're angry in this moment, you're not throwing them and then jumping at them to fight them on the spot where you are guaranteed to kill each other.
That's a good one. Big one that bothers me is this is a very Dragon Ball Z thing to do, but other animes do it as well. A character will like throw everything they have at someone, and then like there'll just be a giant thing of smoke, and they'll start laughing like, "I fucking did it! Those pieces of shit! I'm Vegeta! I rule!" And then the smoke clears, and like the other person is just standing there like completely untouched, and then they're like, oh, they're just fucking shaking, and like just like their eyes are wide, and they're making that like weird noise, like. That never works. No. That never works. Whenever there's smoke, they're always untouched. And it's always supposed to be this dramatic reveal. Yeah. And you're just like, dude, I know. Like,
that's an anime thing. That's very typical.
That always happens. Another thing that happens a lot, again, in Dragon Ball Z, but in other animes as well, shonens, they will show how powerful someone is by showing like, when fucking Vegeta shows up and he wrecks the new guys in his Super Saiyan mode. He's like, haha. And then he gets his ass kicked by someone else just to show how powerful the new villain is. It's like, you just saw how powerful Vegeta was, and he got his ass kicked by this guy, so they're in for a world of hurt. Like, it's just like, all right, I get it. Like, I know. Yeah.
I hate constant power scaling like that in anything, and I even kind of hate the reverse of it. So, like, on the side of actual constant power scaling, I really didn't like, for, like, what was from the Ant arc for Hunter x Hunter, was, like, and this applies to so many shows, to North American shows, to anime, but a lot in anime, was I hate it when the character is just constantly hopelessly outmatched. And like, no matter what they did, the ants just kept getting stronger.
Yeah.
And stronger. And stronger until the last one was literally as strong as anything's ever going to get.
Yeah, that's like the peak.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay. And then the only way it was going to end, now Hunter did clean that one out nicely in an interesting way. I won't spoil it. But in most other contexts, usually they're like, oh, I punched him hard enough to make it happen. I'm like, so then... But that brings me to my other pet peeve, which drives me nuts, is I hate it when they build up this boss thing and it becomes so powerful. Like, I don't care if it's fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Secret of the Ooze, and suddenly, like, their Shredder was hard to beat in the first place, and then their Super Shredder, but in the end, it still just took punching him to win.
No, a Doc fell on Super Shredder. Yeah, spoilers for that.
But you know what I mean, right? Like, it wasn't, like...
No, it was anticlimactic.
The power-up means nothing.
Yeah, he powered out, he used Super Shredder, he looked badass as fuck, and they were like, oh, shit! And then, like, the Doc fell on him, and he was like, oh, he's dead, okay. Yeah. It was like, oh, that was, like, really anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Like... I don't. Yeah, it wasn't even satisfying as a child. You know what I mean?
Leads me to my next in movie. We're gonna have some game ones soon, but in movie pet peeve is when also the character power up gets torn off instantly. So this happens in a ton of North American movies and stuff. You get the scene where the hero, even if it's like Rambo or something, like puts on all the armor and puts on the guns and puts on the shit and he looks badass, right? Or we take Transformers and like Optimus Prime puts on the dead body of his other friend and is now powered up and awesome, and then he flies in, and then in 20 seconds of the fight, it's all torn off, and he's left with a sword. You're just like, what the fuck was the point? And, like, he could have done it without he could have done it since the beginning of the movie, apparently.
Yeah.
It never mattered,
The one that always gets me with this one, I think there was an explanation for it at some point, but still in the movie it comes off as very weird, is, Pacific Rim. They're getting their ass kicked by that flying one, and all of a sudden they're like, the sword button.
Everyone hits the
sword. And you're like, what?
The all-powerful sword.
That was a sick moment and everything, but also when you like take one step back and look at it, you're like, why weren't you using this? It sliced him clean in two. Yeah. Using it the entire time.
Yeah. You were just trying to punch it. Like, even in human terms, punching is not efficient as stabbing.
Yeah. Like, it was just like I think someone tried to explain that away, but I forget. But yeah, it's still like a dumb, weird oversight in that movie. Again, made for a really cool moment, but you're like, what the fuck?
They did that intentionally in that movie as kind of like a scene thing, which I get, and also kind of a trope towards its anime homage that it was trying to do.
Yeah, huge anime influence in that movie.
What about you for gaming? Do you have any?
Oh, I didn't even think about gaming. I was just thinking about TV and movies for this one. You, if you have any, like, we can...
Well, how about in person for gaming for you? Like, do you ever have a thing where you're sitting and you're playing and if a person could do something that drives you nuts?
It was the parent thing. Honestly, that's the biggest thing that I
No, your friends. With your friends. Because, like, you had
you know what? Well, this is interesting because the way I evolved as a human. I used to be the person... It would be me and Cheese Toast Kid. We'd be playing, like, any game, like, literally. And I'm always trying to read the story. I want to know what's going on in Resident Evil 2. I want to know what's going on in Final Fantasy 8. I want to know what's going on. And he would get way more bored, way more quick, and he would just start skipping through stuff. And I'm like, bitch, I want to know this. Like, I want to know, but he's like, I don't care. But now, slowly, as I've grown to an adult, I feel like almost every video game story is terrible and a waste of my time. So, like, I just start skipping shit. I'm like, I give it, like, the first 20 minutes to entrance me, and I'm like, all right, skip. Like, I've become that person. Yeah. But that used to piss me off as a kid because I wanted to know what's going on. And now I am that person. I have become the evil I hate.
Well, it's funny because like today now, like hanging out with your friends and watching your friend play doesn't really happen as much. I don't hear a lot of people getting together and we sat around and we played Final Fantasy 9 together or something like that. That used to be the thing that we used to do. But with Twitch streaming and stuff like that, we still watch people play. Okay. Go. We still watch people play. So, I guess it still kind of applies, but I hate watching people play or people playing a game, and this is even a UI and UX fail on the game side as well, but when they would see something and they're fucking determined that that's the thing.
Oh, and it's like clearly not?
It's clearly not the thing. And they're just like jumping on it and jumping at it and trying to find some method of attack. And I'm like, dude, if it wasn't easy... at some point, this is not the way to go. The designers would have clearly, and they didn't. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, if it
I need
was
to grab on this ledge,
hard,
and you're like, no,
no. If it was that hard, it's not the direction.
No, that's true. That did happen a lot, actually. Yeah, back in the day.
Which is the in-game current UI thing. I hate that, and it happens very rarely now. As a matter of fact, I find some games today are too easy with this. Is like that's the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and that pissing me off more now is I'm just like, I don't have to think about where I'm going.
Yeah, I don't even have to explore, really, right?
I don't have to even think about this jumping puzzle in any fashion, right? Like, it's just that way. Which, I mean, is done because of the environments are so complex now that they need to demonstrate it, because, like, if they took that away, I'd be just like, this is a forest.
That's why detective vision is a thing, right?
Yeah.
There's so many games that you press L2 or L1 or whatever the fuck, and it's like, it goes to different mode. It shows you the interactable things on there because everything blends together.
I don't like that. What I do like is I don't mind that, like, if you like walk up to it and it tells you that you should be able to interact with it. I love that. That's a great one. But like, which one was it? Fucking Tomb Raider. Like every 5 seconds, just to see what highlights. Right? Yeah. It drove me nuts. I'm like, I get it. After a while, the rip bark means fucking jump, or you can scale it. Right? Like I'm fine. But I like better is like where you get an option where you hit that, and if you have a goal marker in the distance, not a permanent one, because it was fucking floating there in the distance the whole time, just going like, that's where you're supposed to go. I don't want to go there yet. Yeah, go here. No.
I like in new games we can set markers for custom places. Obviously, that's a fantastic option.
That's definitely a fantastic option. But yeah, I hate watching people go for this stuff. But then in current UI design,
you're right though. That's a good one. Yeah, watching people like go for something that is frustratingly not like the way to go. Yeah, and they just keep going for it. Shisto's kid had a couple of those. I remember we were playing like Resident Evil, and there's like a door that won't open, and it never will. It's like this door is blocked, and he's just like, "There's something through this." And it's like, "No, there's not. There can't be."
And I always come to try to teach people is that like if you play enough games, especially back in the day before, and even still currently today. The movable and interactable objects look different.
Yes.
But most average people can't see. Like, I'll click this thing and I'm like, how did you know that would move? And I'm like, well, it's because it's kind of a little bit more colorful.
Yeah, it's like...
and sticks off the wall a
It's like
bit.
in an old animation, like the painted backgrounds. Yeah. Like it's a bunch of rocks. You're like, that rock's going to move because it's the one that's painted differently. Yeah, it's shit like that. And like, well, I mean, that's because we've been gaming for so long that like we've developed almost like a vocabulary. We just know how things are going to work. Yeah.
Like I turn on a game and Jed's like, how did you beat that in like 6 hours? And I'm like, well, because I can totally see the design of this environment, because I can see where they painted the path and stuff like that. Everyone else, it's like, do I go here? But like
you see the path and the rest is set dressing.
Yeah, you can totally break it down into that environment, but like other people can't see it at all. Which is a bit of a thing for like on both sides for UI. This pet peeve in gaming for myself is just that like,
you've seen behind the curtain, though. That's the thing. Like, you will never get that back.
No, but I like a good version of UI is in Tomb Raider did this. A lot of some of the more current, like again, open world, open path, gaming versions. It's like you get to an area, and when you get to that area, you're just like, whoa, there's a shit ton that's going to have to happen here. I don't know where to step first, right? That is good UX experience with gaming right now at all. But what pet peeve of mine is, like I was just saying, is the ones where you walk in and it's just like, there. Yeah. Just go there. And I'm like, great. So all of this is beautiful, but I only get to go there. And it's a singular path, and I don't get to enjoy it. I've had a ton of games where I've stepped into this beautiful place that was clearly designed meticulously, and I spent 30 seconds in it because the path was right there.
Yeah. No. That's valid. That's very valid.
It's the same thing for puzzle games, too. Like, I just finished Last Guardian. That one spent a lot of time where I was, like, looking around the room going, fuck. And I was just like, I literally, after a while, I was just so determined to just get that game over with, because I was so tired of sitting in these rooms just going, like,
don't know.
I have no clue, and I don't want to bother dealing with this bird. Like, it was, I had a walkthrough open for the whole thing, but that's the two splits. Like, you can lose track so easily, and you're just like, no signals. Is that fun? No. Too much signal. Like that sense of walking in and being able to basically see all the switches, but you don't know what they all do. That's good design, right? That's good UX.
That's good. That's a good place to end it. And that was our review on The Last Guardian for you. I don't want to deal with that bird anymore. So that'll be it. I think this will be part 1 of. We'll probably come back to this topic because it's actually pretty fun. So I'm sure, as the cynical human beings we are, we'll come up with a lot more pet peeves.
Yep.
If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at TheCalG. Mike is at Mike Kent Draws. Pens and Pixels is across all social medias. Pick your poison. Pens and Pixels. Mm-hmm. Or Pens and Pixels. If you want to email us questions, comments, or concerns, get us at meetpensandpixels@gmail.com.
Yeah. Make sure to drop us a rating, give us a like, share us around, spread the love. There's a song, Spread the Love, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, there's gotta be, right? It seems so obvious.
Insert soundtrack.
Although, I mean, like, there's some names that, like, you're like, how wasn't that a name before? There was a game called Bulletstorm, like, in 2014. You're like, how the fuck was that not something before? It seems so obvious. It seems so obvious.
It's true.
Like, Bulletstorm. You're like, that should have been a game, like, in 1993.
Yeah, like Murder Zone or something like that.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Murder Zone would be a good album. Good album name. Good album. Goodbye, everybody. Happy New Year, by the way.
Oh, yeah, Happy New Year.
This is the posted on January 1st, so... hopefully 2017 isn't the bitch that 2016 was. And stick to all your goals. Or don't, whatever.
Yeah,
Don't care.
Don't set goals.
We won't either.
Low bar.
That's a great way to end it.